Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling an idea that might sound a bit strange at first. United we fall.
Yeah, it definitely makes you pause, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Seems, well, wrong.
Totally backward. But the material we've been digging through, it suggests there's actually something really important, kind of a hidden truth in that phrase.
Exactly. For this deep dive, we've been looking at excerpts from this podcast, United We Fall, which is part of the Voices Unbound series. And it's really just a fascinating look at unity itself.
Right. So our goal today isn't just to say unity is good. We want to get into the complexities.
hmm Go beyond that surface level.
Yeah.
And really look at when unity might, backfire, when it can lead to problems.
So the big question we're sort of posing for you, the listener, is unity always a strength, or can it sometimes be a weakness?
That's the core of it.
Okay, so united we fall. I imagine your first thought, your gut reaction is probably, no, unity is strength. Strength in numbers, common goals.
Sure, that's what we're taught.
And the United We Fall podcast, it definitely gives that its due. It talks about the power of people coming together.
Right. It mentions things like the civil rights movement, which is a huge example.
Yeah, or global climate initiatives, communities helping each other out during crises. You can't deny those positive.
Absolutely not. But what's really interesting in the source material is where it looks at the flip side, the shadow side of unity.
Okay.
It suggests unity gets problematic when it's built on, well, keeping people out.
Exclusion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Think about extreme nationalism or, intense tribalism, that whole us versus them thing.
Right.
When your definition of us depends on there being a them,
Yeah.
well, that feeling of closeness inside the group can actually create bigger conflicts outside it.
That makes sense. And this is where the podcast we looked at gets really thought-provoking. It talks about groupthink.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And you've probably felt this, right? That pressure inside a group to just agree, even if something feels a bit off.
Oh, definitely. You don't want to be the odd one out.
Yeah. And the podcast specifically mentions how damaging this can be in politics, for example, where like these fixed ideologies take hold in a group and suddenly common sense or looking critically at ideas from outside your bubble just kind of disappears.
Yeah, it gets obscured. And building on that, the source material talks about social media's role in all this.
Right. The algorithms.
Exactly. How they can feed you stuff you already agree with, creating these echo chambers.
So you feel really unified with the people inside the chamber.
Precisely. It feels like strong unity.
Yeah.
But the flip side is it can actually isolate you more from different views and sort of contribute to society breaking up into these separate camps.
Which leads us to a really critical question the United We Fall podcast asks directly. Is unity actually overrated?
A provocative question.
It really challenges that default assumption that more unity is always the answer. And the counter-argument it makes is about healthy dissent, how important that is.
Right. Progress often comes from someone questioning things.
Exactly, whether it's science or society or just understanding the world better.
Right.
It often relies on people being brave enough to say, hang on, maybe there's another way to look at this.
It's a real aha moment they present. Unity without any room for disagreement. That can lead to stagnation, just getting stuck.
Okay, so if blind unity is bad and constant division isn't great either, what's the answer?
Well, the podcast suggests it's about finding a balance, this idea of being, united in our basic humanity,
Okay.
while still really respecting and even valuing that people see things differently, individual perspectives.
So not everyone thinking the same.
Not at all. It's more like agreeing on some core ground rules or values and then letting a whole range of ideas flourish on top of that. The source implied that's where real lasting progress comes from.
Right. So how do we actually do that? How do we build that kind of healthier unity? Does the podcast offer solutions?
It does give some ideas.
Yeah.
One really basic but crucial one is just open dialogue. Yeah, but creating spaces where people feel safe sharing their views, even the unpopular ones, without immediately getting shut down or judged.
Like this conversation, hopefully.
Exactly. And tied into that is encouraging critical thinking.
So not just taking things at face value.
Right. Giving people the tools to actually analyze information,
Right.
to look at different sides fairly, and then make up their own minds based on, reason.
And education plays a big role too, according to the source.
Definitely. Teaching younger generations not just how to cooperate, but also how to think for themselves and, importantly, how to disagree respectfully.
So they learn both unity and individuality.
Precisely. Building that capacity for the long haul.
Okay, so let's circle back to that phrase, united we fall.
Mm.
It sounds like the podcast isn't saying don't unite, but more like be careful how you unite.
That's a great way to put it. It's presented as a warning, a reminder to stay, vigilant about the potential downsides. Don't just assume unity is always good, full stop. Avoid that complacency.
Yeah, absolutely. And a huge takeaway for me from the United We Fall material was that harnessing our collective strength properly means you have to actively value different viewpoints.
It's not just about tolerating them.
No, it's about seeing the value in them. Like, different perspectives often lead to more creative ideas, right? Or a better understanding of a really complex problem.
You get more robust outcomes in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast finishes with this really nice metaphor.
Oh, yeah.
Unity is a bridge, not a wall.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah, it captures that ideal perfectly. Unity should connect people, help understanding flow across differences, not build barriers to keep others out.
Okay, so summing up this deep dive, looking at the United We Fall podcast, it really shows unity is much more, well, complicated than we might think.
Definitely more nuanced.
Its power for good is clear, but the source really highlights those potential traps like exclusion, groupthink.
How social media can pour fuel on that fire sometimes.
Right. And the core insight seems to be about balance. Balancing that need we all have to belong with a real respect for individual thought. And recognizing that healthy dissent isn't a threat, it's actually vital.
Yeah, true unity, the kind the source seems to advocate for, it doesn't need everyone to be the same. It actually gets stronger from diversity, from open dialogue, from critical thinking.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on.
Think about the groups you're in. Work, community, family, online groups, whatever. How do you handle that tension, that push and pull between fitting in and holding on to your own perspective?
Yeah, can you think of times when maybe striving for unity in one of those groups actually led to something negative? Or maybe a time when someone speaking up, challenging the consensus, actually made things better in the end?
It's just something to reflect on in your own life, this whole complex dance between unity and individuality.